Hey everybody, Happy New Year, and welcome to the first edition of a new show premiering here in 2021 called Mii Weekly with me, Hero TJ. Now, seeing as how this is the first episode, I want to give you a quick oversight of what you can expect from the show moving forward. While I do expect this series to be topical as it will draw from most of the headlines from the week, it's not exactly a news show, and will primarily feature my impressions, opinions, perspective, and it'll also give me an opportunity to scratch some of my creative itches with a whole host of variety segments. So I want to start off by thanking you for joining me, and as this show is going to have a much looser format than some of the other shows that I might have been involved in on the channel, it's a lot more off the cuff, it's not scripted, so it has a lot of room to grow and evolve. And you can definitely help with that process by letting me know what you think, what you like, what you didn't like, and if you have an idea for a segment that doesn't appear in the show, I'd like to hear that too. Now let's get started. Now, as we're ushering in a new year, I thought it would be fun to take a look back at 2020 with all of you, so I'm going to go over my 2020 Nintendo Switch year in review right now in real time with you. If you want to find your own personal Nintendo Switch year in review, you can find it at switch.nintendo.com/year in review. I'll leave a link in the description. Another one of the cool features here is that it also shows you how your 2020 stats stack up against 2019. Nintendo thanks me for making them a part of my well-rounded free time this year. Nintendo, thank you. So what kind of player was I? According to my gameplay history, I'm a core gamer. I'm a skilled, experienced gamer who's always up for a challenge. Now, I'm flattered by that. I don't know that I would personally consider myself a skilled gamer. In fact, many times, especially when I play online, I feel like a filthy casual. But if Nintendo's going to be heaping some praise my way, who am I to argue? Oh, stop it some more, Nintendo. So 2020, in hindsight, my total hours played was 768 hours in comparison to 2019, where I tallied 663. So my game time was a little up this year. I think that's probably going to be across the board for most people. A little over 100 more hours of game time I managed to slip in 2020. More game time is always a good thing. The number of games I played is 39. Not quite a cool 40, 39 games. That actually kind of seems like a lot to me. I don't really float between games very frequently. Some of those I probably just booted up once or twice. Let's see how that compares to 2019, where I also played 39 games coincidentally. I guess my gaming habits are pretty consistent. This is the one that's most interesting to me. My most played games by hours. Number 1, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I have a feeling this is going to top most Nintendo Switch players for this year. Not just because it's a great game, but because for a good portion of the year, it was really all there was to play. My number 2 game, and this is really a surprise to me, was Hades. This game came out of nowhere for me. I first saw it in one of the Nintendo Indie events or Partner Directs, I can't exactly remember which one it was, and the art style immediately jumped out to me. The game seemed like it was super cool, and then when I saw the gameplay and realized it was a roguelike, I was kind of turned off and I just wrote it off. And then it started getting these really great reviews, and it came out at a time when I didn't really have anything else that I was playing and I was looking for something, and the game was really cheap. It was like $20, I think, on sale. Even full price, it's only $25. And it just hooked me. I really got into the game loop. It's not a typical roguelike, and as I said, they generally turn me off because I feel like I have this constant lack of progression. But dying in this game is part of the fun, and it's written into the plot. So the core conceit of the game being that you are a god and you can't stay dead. Every time you die, the story continues to progress, even though a lot of the things that you gained throughout your dungeon run you lose. I say dungeon run, but essentially the main premise of the game is you're trying to escape from the underworld. And there's a bunch of different weapons and combinations of power-ups that you can use to achieve this, and the game is so unbelievably well balanced, and the story is so unbelievably well written, so lovingly and meticulously crafted. I played the game for I don't even know how many hours, a lot, given that it's the second most played game of the year, and it only came out in, well, I don't know when it came out, but I started playing it in November. And I feel like I pulled a ton of all-nighters on it. And in all the hours that I played, I don't think I heard the same line of dialogue twice. And it's fully voice acted, amazingly voice acted. Some of the best performances I've ever seen in any game. If this is a game you haven't played, and I know a lot of you have because the game has been tremendously successful on the Switch, you really owe it to yourself to give it a try. After the first hour or so, once you start to understand the game loop and once you get used to the play mechanics, the combat is liquid smooth, a ton of fun. The controls are extremely responsive, and it's just fun to move around. It's just fun to play. It's fun to talk to everybody. I didn't just beat it, I epically destroyed it. Even after you beat the game, it finds a way to incentivize you to keep playing, and it continues to advance the story after you've won. And so I went all the way through. I even managed to achieve the special epilogue. So I can't recommend this game enough. Go after it. But I do have to reiterate, I'm surprised it wound up so high on my list in terms of actual logged hours. The third most played game doesn't really surprise me that much. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I devoured this game. I 100%ed it. I played it non-stop. Actually, I would even say to an unhealthy degree, where I played it as much as I could play it until my body started to fail me and I needed to eat or I needed to fall asleep. As soon as I woke back up, I was hungry to go after it for some more. And I will add, and you've probably heard me say this before if you listen to the Nintendo Wirecast that I do with Amiibo Jason, I legitimately had a dream of the existence of this game a week before it was announced. And so I've never been more excited for a game ever in my life. The anticipation and hype was just maxed out. And then when I played the demo, I was really deflated and I was afraid of the direction that the game was going to go. But what hampered me even more was how bad I felt the performance was. Not just bad compared to Breath of the Wild, but bad compared to Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I found it extremely off-putting and I was afraid that the game wasn't going to live up to my hopes. After having fully ingested everything the game has to offer, I'm delighted to say that I've really come around on it. I think the combat is amazing. I think the characters are all very individual and fun to play. There's a lot to explore. The map system is really streamlined as compared to the original Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Well, any of the Hyrule Warriors, whether you played it on the Wii U, the 3DS, or the Switch. There's really a lot to love about this game. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the game introduces a time travel element because it does appear in the opening cinematic. And while I did find that a little bit off-putting, it did not detract from my overall enjoyment of the game. So if that's holding you back, I'd say don't let it. What really helped me was to shed any of my expectations and just accept the game for what it is and to enjoy the experience that they were presenting to me. And once I freed myself to be able to do that, the game was not only fun, it was downright heartwarming. I'll admit the performance issues do impact it to some small extent. I would not be opposed to a 2021 Nintendo Switch revision that gives it a little bit more horsepower under the hood that would increase or improve the performance of this game, but it's not to the point where you can't enjoy it and have fun. It doesn't really impact the gameplay much. I didn't feel like the slowdown was eating my inputs. The game's still very responsive, so I criticize it because I wish it was better, but all in all, a game that I'm so happy surprised me at the end of the year, and definitely the biggest surprise of 2020. I'm also pretty surprised to see my fourth most played game is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I definitely played a lot of this game. I played all the way through it on the Wii U, and then I played it again, and probably even more and longer on the new 3DS, because the Legends version added some quality of life improvements, like you could swap between different characters while you were playing, which is also a feature that carries over into the Definitive Edition and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The Definitive Edition, I bought when it originally came out, but I didn't really play it a whole lot, maybe because the other two were still pretty fresh in my mind, but after I gave it a little bit of a break, I just wanted more of that type of experience. Combat has always been my favorite part of the Zelda series, and Hyrule Warriors distills it to just that finely tuned 1 versus 1,000 type of combat, and it just really makes me feel like the hero that Link is. So during 2020, I did manage to put in a lot of time on this game. It also features a pretty great co-op. So it's a game that I was able to sit down with my kids and play together. My goal for 2020 was to unlock the full-powered Master Sword, which is a lot harder in this version than in the previous versions, because you have to first unlock every weapon of every other character at every level. And that means having to really work your way through some of those dense adventure maps, and they can get pretty difficult, so you have to kind of power up all of your characters. Needless to say, I did not achieve this goal. It is still pretty lofty. I don't know that I'll ever go back and do it now, but I still had fun playing through the game. And what kind of ramped up my interest was about a couple months before Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came out. I just felt like it was time, and I guess Nintendo agreed with me because Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was not far off. And then the final game on this list is Paper Mario and the Origami King. This is another game that surprised me this year. I really was not expecting another Paper Mario game. The first Mario RPG that I ever played was Super Mario RPG, and I really loved it. I thought it was such a new take on the Mario series. It's my first experience where Mario actually teams up with Bowser, which I thought was really fun. It challenged the conventional roles that those characters typically played. Having Bowser as an ally instead of an enemy was such a novelty to me at the time. And so naturally I was interested in the follow-up Mario RPG titles, being Paper Mario and then Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door, both of which I started and neither of which I finished. Not because they aren't good games, but for whatever reason, and I think it's really more of a me thing, because even while I was playing them, I recognized how good they were. I just kind of bounced off. Maybe I got busy or other games came up that provided a little bit more immediate gratification. But Paper Mario and the Origami King, I found myself really loving. The game is extremely well written. There's little toads hidden everywhere, and finding them is such a delight. I had a great time over the summer playing this game with my kids. They like to watch me play, and they'd help me solve the puzzles. Now, I will say the puzzles are by far the worst thing about this game. Not because they aren't clever and not because they aren't fun, but because they really wear out their welcome quickly. If it were not for the puzzle, I'm not talking about the boss battles. The boss battles are great. I'm talking about like anytime you encounter an enemy, you have to solve this circle puzzle wheel. If they omitted that, and all of the combat was real-time like A Link to the Past, I'd say this game was a 10 out of 10 for me. That's how impactful that was. Just that factor alone drags it down to maybe a 7. But I still think it was worth playing. I still am super glad that I powered through and that I beat it. The story is super fun. They throw a lot of heart in there, kind of like surprising heart. It's got a much more explosive impact emotionally than you would expect from a game of its type. And I'm really happy for the time I had with it. Now let's compare this with my 2019 most played games. Number 1, not surprisingly, was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I did everything you could possibly do. I completed every single challenge on the challenge board. I unlocked every single spirit. I actually still go in and regularly maintain my spirit count to keep the collection complete. I also must have spent a lot of time in Breath of the Wild. My original playthrough of Breath of the Wild was on the Wii U, which in my humble opinion is the definitive version. It was originally developed for that console and you can kind of feel it, but the Switch version is certainly convenient in that you can take it wherever you want to go, and looks like I played it quite a bit. And Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, my third most played game in 2019 also. The only game that appeared on both lists. That's pretty cool. It is probably my second favorite Zelda game of all time, behind Breath of the Wild, of course. My fourth most played game was Ring Fit Adventure. Oh man, that game is so awesome. You know, my brother actually plays this on a treadmill. I'm really jealous of that. That sounds awesome. Not that I got any problem with running in place, but there's something about actually running while you're doing it. Now, I know I would probably wipe out and hurt myself, but I still think it would be pretty cool. And the final game from 2019 that I played the most was Luigi's Mansion 3. I think this game's amazing. I actually think it's one of the best games on the Switch. It's probably on my top 5. The Luigi-Guigi co-op mechanic is so brilliant. A lot of people, surprisingly to me, don't even know that this game has co-op. When you play the game single player, you can kind of hot swap between Luigi and Guigi, but if you play it in co-op style, Luigi and Guigi are both simultaneously playing, and you can work together to solve puzzles, catch ghosts, and if you're playing with a younger player, which I typically am, I play with my kids, Guigi is a really low stakes character where he can perish without many consequences and then he immediately comes back. I've said this a ton before, but I'm gonna say it again just because I think it would be amazing if Breath of the Wild would allow Wolf Link to be playable by a second player, kind of like how Guigi is, or even Cappy from Mario Odyssey, but more like Guigi, where a second player could just jump in and follow Link around and help in the battles. That would be so cool. I can't imagine it would be that hard to program in. But it doesn't seem to be where Nintendo's mind is. Still, I would love that. That would just be so awesome. So this 2020 year in review also covers my most active day by hours, and it was Monday, March 30th. I have to imagine that probably has something to do with Animal Crossing. And then my most active day in 2019 was March 20th. I'm not really sure what that was. I guess March must just be a hot gaming month for me. Oh, check it out. I earned 3,852 gold Nintendo points. Yay me. It's a Mario time! Let's see how I did with Mario games. My approximate number of Mario games I played, or at least games starring Mario rather, was 6. Alright, that is a little bit higher than I thought. We know Origami King is there. I wonder if that counts Super Smash Bros. I'm sure I also played some Mario Kart, and I played some Mario Deluxe, Mario U Deluxe, New Super Mario Bros. Wii U Deluxe. Oh man, these naming conventions are killing me. Oh, my completed Mario missions on my Nintendo 6. Yeah, and I kind of really went out of my way to complete these 6 missions so that I can earn those super cool Mario pins. But like many of you out there, I'm sure, they ran out of them well before I had the chance to get them, even though I tried to get them on the first day. Oh well, no big deal. And then, of course, they're celebrating Mario's 35th anniversary. Ooh, what's this? What's next? New year, new fun. Based on my play history, here's a few games Nintendo thinks I might like. All right, let's see how well Nintendo can guess my tastes. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. I did play Shovel Knight on Wii U, and I liked the co-op mode. I don't think I would play the game by myself. I think it is a well put together platformer. Not quite for me, but playing it with my brother was a ton of fun, so I enjoyed that. And then the subsequent missions that you could play with Spectre Knight and King Knight, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Plague Knight. You couldn't do co-op, so I kind of fell off. Fire Emblem, Nintendo could not be more wrong. If there was ever somebody who was not designed to enjoy a Fire Emblem game, that is me. So I'm very happy that Fire Emblem Three Houses exists for all of you Fire Emblem fans out there, but unless it fundamentally changed, has no TJ appeal. Just Dance 2021? I don't know what in my gaming history would lead Nintendo to think that that would be the type of game that I would want to play. I have never played a Just Dance game before, and I don't imagine that I'm going to start in 2021. And then, of course, Gris. Now that's a game that maybe I would like, but I don't know anything about it. So maybe that's worth looking into. And Stardew Valley, that's a game that I have seen a lot of people play. I know that it has some kinds of Animal Crossing type elements to it, maybe mixed with a little bit of Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon is a game that's way too slow and boring for me. So I'd say that judging by some of the other suggestions on here, Nintendo doesn't really know me that well. And they're thanking me for playing, and they'll see me in 2021. I will see you in 2021 as well, Nintendo. So that was fun for me. That's what my 2021 looked like. As I mentioned, if you want to see your 2020 Nintendo stats, you can find the link in the description. Now playing. In this segment, we're going to cover a game that's been on my mind or that I've been playing lately. The holidays have been pretty busy, so I haven't actually had a chance to do too much gaming. And the last thing I really invested myself in was the Sephiroth Challenge. The Sephiroth Challenge was a limited time fight related to the release of the latest character in the Super Smash Bros. Fighter Pack, being Sephiroth, the first boss as a DLC character. Sephiroth hails from Final Fantasy VII. He is Cloud's nemesis. Cloud was a character who was first introduced in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and to this date, for me, is still the most shocking inclusion of any of these third-party characters. He didn't come with a whole lot of bells and whistles, which I instantaneously forgave because it was a miracle to me that he even got into the game. I never played Final Fantasy VII. Okay, I did play Final Fantasy VII, but it was hot on the heels of Ocarina of Time, which is a game that goes down in history as one of the all-time best, so I was looking for a little bit more of that, and Final Fantasy VII didn't quite scratch that itch. But yet, I recognize what a big deal that game is, and it almost feels like the inclusion of Sephiroth in this Fighter's Pass is fulfilling some of the promises of Cloud by bringing in more of these Square Enix spirits and songs. Mr. Sakurai also gave a little bit of insight into why it's so difficult to get songs licensed for Smash Brothers, because in different territories they have different copyright owners, and so to reconcile all of that is such a convoluted contractual mess. I can't even believe that they achieve it at all. But I'm getting off the point. The Sephiroth Challenge is the first time that we've gotten anything like this with one of the DLC characters. So basically, for a limited time, from December 17th to December 22nd, you could challenge Sephiroth, and if you beat him, you unlock the character early. Now, obviously, you have to have purchased the Fighter's Pass, or at least purchase that character, but the Sephiroth Challenge appears right on the main Smash Bros. Selection screen. It seems like such a little thing, but the only thing that kept bringing me back to Smash Bros. Was the spirit events. Every time a new character would get announced, released rather, I would go in there and I would collect all the spirits, and that was kind of my routine, but I wasn't actually playing Smash. Like, nothing was drawing me back to the game, really, until this Sephiroth Challenge. I first played him on normal, and I pretty much only play as Hero TJ, so the Mii sword fighter. It's definitely the character that I have the most time logged as, so I definitely have the most skill as that character. And I beat him in a few attempts. I'm not gonna pretend I'm some great Smash player. I think I'm pretty average, but I did manage to beat him. And then for some reason, I just got it in my head that I wanted to be able to beat him on very hard. So I started challenging him over and over again with Mii sword fighter. That's not the footage you're seeing here. This footage is obviously Cloud fighting Sephiroth, pulled from the Nintendo Wire upload. I played it for a couple hours straight and just kept losing horribly, but I just really wanted to be able to beat him. In hindsight, it probably would have been better if I just switched to somebody like Little Mac, where I could punch him way off the stage, but I really wanted to beat him as Mii. I didn't want to cheese him with some OP character who could exploit Sephiroth's weaknesses. That said, I did finally beat him. It took me probably like 4.5 hours over 2 or 3 play sessions, and I utilized heinous abuse of the Mii Tornado. So I just kind of held him at bay forever with that thing and slowly whittled away at his HP. When I did finally win, I only had 1 HP left, so it felt like such a triumphant victory. I, of course, tweeted my successes onto the Twitter to forever commemorate this triumphant achievement. Sephiroth has been officially released, so the Sephiroth Challenge is obviously no longer available. I do hope you had the chance to play it and that you had as much fun with it as I did. This is Joys and Cons. In this segment, me Hero TJ will shower praise for a game's joyful virtues, while Dark TJ throws shade at its shortcomings. For this edition, we'll feature Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Hi everybody! Just like Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo combined the classic NES titles into a comprehensive collection, Mario 3D All-Stars does the same for the 64, GameCube, and Wii titles, combining these undeniable masterpieces together in one convenient package for the Nintendo Switch.
Remember Super Mario All-Stars on the Super NES? With its updated graphics and refined controls? You like that, huh? Well, don't expect any of that extra effort here. Super Mario 3D All-Stars features no enhancements, no special features, janky cameras, no bug fixes, and in many ways the control schemes are actually inferior to the original.
The nostalgia is real, my friends! It's such a delight to relive some of the best games of our childhood in these faithful emulations.
Whereas the original Mario All-Stars for Super Nintendo added a game in the form of lost levels, a full-scale Mario platformer made playable in Western countries for the first time, Super Mario 3D All-Stars actually omitted a game. Whatever happened to Mario Galaxy 2, huh? Nintendo couldn't even be bothered to complete the 3D collection.
It's heartwarming that Nintendo would honor their seminal mascot's 35th anniversary with this fun-filled trip down memory lane, revisiting some of Mario's grandest and most influential adventures.
Get this! As of March 31st, 2021, Super Mario 3D All-Stars disappears from retail stores and the eShop forever. So if you don't buy it now, you'll lose the chance to own this pathetic middling cash grab.
This has been Joys and Cons with me, Hero TJ, and Dark TJ. Some of you might remember a show I do on this channel called Spirit Tracker. I made it my mission to track down each and every spirit in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, figure out who they were, what they do, where they come from, and how to find them. Well, I really enjoyed making that show, but I really underestimated how much time it would take to research all the individual spirits, and then of course scripting the episodes. And since the show didn't really catch fire on the channel and it never really found an audience, it's kind of found its way to the bottom of my priority list. But that doesn't mean I've lost this burning urge to explore these spirits. So even though I haven't fully given up on Spirit Tracker, in the meantime, I want to at least take one spirit from Super Smash Bros. And feature them every week in a segment appropriately called Spirit of the Week. I chose the featured spirit this week because in the opening cinematic of World of Light in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, this spirit is the first non-playable character we see claimed by Galeem, so it seemed appropriate to spotlight them for the first spirit, highlighted here as the Spirit of the Week. Coming in at spirit number 183, we're taking a look at Darknut from the Legend of Zelda series. Darknut first appeared in the original Legend of Zelda for the NES and has gone on to appear in many Zelda titles across the series. This particular render comes from Twilight Princess, and I think a really good synoptic description of who Darknut is comes from the Smash Bros. Brawl trophy description, which reads, "A knight enemy clad in heavy armor that defends with a shield and attacks with sword techniques and kicks. Darknuts lose their armor as they take hits, but they grow faster in the process. Their sword skills are quite accomplished. The most fundamental way of dealing with Darknuts is having good command of spin attacks and backslices. If you take advantage of this spirit's skill in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it will raise sword attacks for characters like Link and Marth. If there's a particular spirit you'd like to see featured as the Spirit of the Week, be sure to leave your suggestion in the comment section below, and if yours is selected, you'll be recognized in the episode with an on-screen credit." The final segment for today's edition of Mii Weekly is called Sound Off. Here's where I want to deepen my connection with you and the rest of the Nintendo Wire community. Nintendo Wire's been uploading content on YouTube since 2014, and since then has gone on to earn the support of over 100,000 subscribers. I'm honored to have been a part of the channel since the very beginning alongside my good friend and colleague Amiibo Jason and the rest of the amazing staff at Nintendo Wire. I'm excited for what the future holds, but as we cross into the new year, I want to take a quick look back. You may know Nintendo Wire hosts a vastly varied array of content, and not all of it appeals to all audiences, and I've been really curious about the individual tastes of the community we've all built together. So my question for you is, if you're a subscriber of Nintendo Wire here on YouTube, why did you subscribe? Was it Amiibo News, Smash Supremacy, the Nintendo Newscast, giveaways, Mii v Me, Custom Conquest, the Nintendo Wiretap, Mii Time, the D-Make series, unboxings, the Timeline series, Smash Switch Speculation, the Nintendo Wirecast, Smash Ultimate Countdown, Smash Chess, Spirit Tracker, or maybe even TJ's Fit Challenge? Okay, no, I know it wasn't TJ's Fit Challenge. Actually, that lost some subscriber support. Even if you're not subscribed, I'm interested in knowing that as well. I genuinely hope I have a number of responses equal to the number of views on this video. Your opinions and perspectives matter to me, and this content, while often quite self-indulgent, I'll admit, is as much for you as it is for us. One of my personal aims is to produce the type of content that is as entertaining for you to watch as it is for me to make. That wraps up the first edition of Mii Weekly. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. I really appreciate you joining me. I wish you a very blessed and prosperous 2021. I have no doubt that Nintendo will unveil all sorts of exciting surprises. I'll be right here with you, and we can explore it all together. I do hope I'll see you again next week for another edition of Mii Weekly. Until then, thanks for playing.